Arch. I'm Michael Calhoun, KMOX News.
Cash for Clunkers is back. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is paying cash for your clunkers now. Schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200. It's cash for clunkers now at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
This is the Gashouse Gang on 104.1 FM KMOX. Sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin comfort dealer. And by Anderson Hospital, a Newsweek World's Best Hospital. Now, the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
Is ready, the pitch. It's hit up the middle, base hit into left center field, rounding third, heading home. The throw to the plate is not in time, and the Cardinals get a walk-off win on the base hit by Wilson Contreras in his 1,000th career game. A walk-off victory for the Cardinals, 6-5.
Cardinals split a doubleheader with Kansas City yesterday, but they dropped the series. They win one game against the Royals, and now it's not going to get a whole lot easier because the Los Angeles Dodgers, the juggernaut, is in town tonight. Shohei Ohtani is going to be at Busch Stadium, and that pregame show, 6:20, 7:15, first pitch here on KMOX. It is time for the Gashouse Gang, and we are glad to have you with us today. We're going to have a pair of tickets. No, I take that back. A 4-pack of tickets to give away for the game tonight. We will do that before the show is over today. Mike Claiborne is going to join us. We have Friends of Claibs. That is our new segment on the Gashouse Gang. The friend, Joe West, former umpire, is going to be with us later on. Right now, Matt Pauley, Chris Ranji with you. Matt, first of all, well, I wanted them to, I think all of us did, clearly, wanted them to start this long 9-game homestand by at least taking 2 of 3 from a Royals team we believe they are better than. And we'll get to the series itself, but a development that happened yesterday, as of right now, we are being told that there's not much cause for great concern, but Matthew Liberatore had to leave his start early with what they're calling fatigue. And they don't believe, I guess, there's any structural issue because they did not do an MRI. They didn't do any imaging. So how do we feel about that today? It still makes me nervous that on June 5th, we had to pull a starter because he's fatigued.
Yeah, so I know that's what they said. If you listen to Oliver Marmol speak in the postgame, that's essentially not what he said. He said that this was just a situation where there was Libby was not synced up for whatever reason. He was not synced up, his entire body, and it just wasn't working. We saw his velo drop significantly. We're talking like 88 miles per hour. The last thing that they wanted to do was all of a sudden have him try to find that velocity by doing something else and end up getting hurt. So I know that in game they said fatigue related issues, but if you listen to Ali afterwards, he wasn't tired. It had nothing to do with that, but it did have something to do with, for whatever reason, his body basically wasn't working, and they got to figure out why.
I mean, his body it's fine. No big deal. His body wasn't. What do you mean his body wasn't working? What are we talking about here?
I mean, you know how it is in pitching. There's a lot of things that have to happen in concert together.
Like he's getting the yips. He's getting the mid-game yips. Is that what we're talking about?
No, it wasn't it wasn't working. For whatever reason, his body was not synced up. And that happened last night. And he talked about it too. We had the audio on the Extra Innings show last night here on KMOX. I mean, look, it was not a tired thing. It was literally, and I'm not a pitching coach, so I'm going to have a hard time using the right words here. But yeah, all the different things that you need to do as a pitcher in one motion to make pitching work, that was not happening last night.
So he had a mechanical issue in the middle of the start. But
he had to go get an oil change.
Okay. You're going to get that thing oiled down. So wait, am I supposed to not be concerned then? I mean,
I think
this seems concerned. It seems like a problem potentially.
Yeah, I'm not telling you not to be concerned. I'm a trend guy. Like, I don't get upset and overly worried about, one thing happening here and one thing happening there. But that's now 2 straight starts for Libby where he's not very good. And then we've got this really weird thing that's going along with it. We're 1 start away from it trending in the wrong direction. So I don't know if I'm to the point of worry, but I'm definitely, I can see that stoplight and I'm coming up on it, and hopefully I can make a right turn at some point and not get there. His next start will say a lot, or how they handle this week. If I wouldn't be shocked if look, Liberatore has never gone through a full 162 game season as a starting pitcher. And I thought at some point in time, they may have to pump the brakes with him a little bit to help him get him through there. If this happens and it's any other month, well, then I'm sitting here telling you, you know what, just skip his next start, bring McGreevy up and skip his next start and just kind of let him reset. You don't really have that option here in the month of June where you only have the 2 off days. So it's going to be a really interesting thing to watch moving forward on if he is good to go, what it looks like next time around, if this becomes a problem that persists in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, man, I hope it doesn't turn into anything greater, but this feels, I don't know, and I'm not an injury expert, obviously, but this almost feels sort of like when, a pitcher's got forearm fatigue, or he's got a little strain in his forearm. I want to rest him. And then that ends up turning into weeks and weeks later a Tommy John problem. I'm not saying that's this. It's just, I don't know that I can just say, all right, well, I'm not too concerned about this. I think everything's going to be okay. Maybe it will be, but I think we would be lying to ourselves if we weren't at least in the back of our minds a little concerned about this.
Ron, respectfully, I don't think that's a good analogy, but I don't know what a good analogy is. So I understand where you go there.
Yeah.
But this is a weird thing where just his body wasn't working basically. And I'm not smart enough to know if that's something that I should be really, really worried about, or just kind of assume that, you know what, he can click it back in next time.
You're probably right. It's not a great analogy. I couldn't think of a better one on the spot, but it's like a problem that's not a problem, but then it becomes a problem later on, or a much greater problem. That's kind of where I was going with it. We got Mike Claiborne, who is joining the show now, Claibs. And, you saw Matthew Liberatore leave the game last night. I don't know that we can hear Claibs. He might be muted. I'm not sure. There he is. How you
there
doing,
you are.
Claibs? Yep.
Hello, Henny Penny. Sky's falling. Here we go.
Oh, come on. You can't tell me that that's not a little concerning.
Well, yeah, obviously it's a concern because it's something we don't see on a regular basis. We don't see it on a regular basis, and I get it. But I think we need to take a deep breath and make sure we inhale the whole situation. And I'm sure we'll get more information later today at the ballpark. So I'm not going to jump to conclusions about anything until we have a little bit more time to let this simmer and figure out exactly what it is and how things unfolded last night. But I will say this.
Yeah.
If you know anybody who can pitch, I know where they're looking at bringing in some people because they're a little thin right now.
Yeah.
And, with the doubleheader and the extra inning game and everything else that came with it, somebody's going to have to step up. And the question is that person within the organization? I mean, is he on the roster? Is he in Memphis? Is he, somewhere? Because, we have this stretch of games where we have a lot of games consecutive without a day off. And that can catch up to you. And it didn't help with the Cardinals' first game of the series getting chewed up. The bullpen got chewed up pretty good. And, that's something that the trickle-down effect comes into play. And you're kind of stuck with it. And, if somebody has to find a way to push through it. We saw this a couple of years ago where everything fell apart at one time. I don't think it happened this time as severely as it did then. But you really have to pay attention to their arms and what they can provide.
Yeah, and between you mentioned it, between now and July, they got one off day, and it's the 16th. So they're going to have to get through all of these games, and it does feel a little thin. But I think the question here has sort of been answered already. I don't think they go out and get a starter. Whatever they have to do, and I believe we talked about this. Maybe it was not necessarily the show that Claibs was on, one of the Gashouse Gangs recently, but this just feels like a situation where they're going to have to get through this season, starter-wise, with what they have in the organization, that they're probably not going outside to get some help.
That makes sense. I don't know, and especially with an outgoing administration, you don't want to saddle an incoming with a quick fix or a Band-Aid to, try to eliminate the hemorrhaging that may take place. So, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think you go out and do anything major. If there's somebody who you think can help you that you come to an agreement on, that's different. And obviously skill, money, those two factors are going to come into play. But right now, I think they're going to exhaust every effort internally before they start looking outside.
And honestly, I'm okay with that. I don't need them to go out and overextend
Well,
themselves.
I'm glad you feel good about it.
Well, I do. I mean, I don't think they need to go out and just start giving up a bunch of assets for a starter that helps them this season. I think most fans will be. Yeah.
I think you keep an eye on if there's an opportunity out there, because their starting pitching depth is Michael McGreevy and bringing Steven Matz back.
Michael McGreevy.
Yeah,
exactly. That's it.
So if there is an opportunity to go get a guy who can get on a minor league contract, who's got some big league time that you can put at Memphis and isn't going to embarrass himself if he has to get a major league start, I think you look for that. A few weeks ago, Adrian Hauser was let go, and the White Sox ended up giving him a major league opportunity. If the Whites, that's the profile of guy I'm talking about. If the White Sox wouldn't have been there to give him a major league opportunity, if you can get a guy like that to take a minor league deal with him knowing that there's a pretty good chance that they'll probably get to the big leagues to make a spot start here or there, I would be looking for that.
Well, and also especially,
I think that's I was going to say, I think that's a good point you make, Matt. But my concern is, if a guy's sitting at home in June, how long is it going to take for him to get ready to help you?
Yep.
And if he's been sitting there that long, then that means nobody thought he could play. And that's my concern. My other concern is, if you look around baseball, the Cardinals aren't the only team that may be in the market for pitching. There's some other teams that are in worse shape than the Cardinals are right now. And pitching is at a premium as far as finding people who can come in and help you, not fill out a roster spot, but somebody who can come in and help. And I just think, man, this is going to be a juggling act, because you're not just worrying about your team. You have to concern yourself with what's available and what other teams out there are trying to get the same thing you're looking for.
And look, that's why the Tyler Matzik move was interesting, because you were able to get him. Yeah. I mean, now he's a relief pitcher, not a starter, so it's a different conversation. But I think Tyler Matzik's going to be in the big leagues with the Cardinals in the next month.
There's going to be an opener situation somewhere down the road. So you're right. You may bring a guy in just for that.
Did you like their use of that opener? It worked out the one time they did it. Or actually, no, they have not done it before, have they?
No, they haven't done it.
Not this season. They've not done it.
They've done it before, but not
not
year.
this season. Do you like that idea?
I'm not a big fan of it. It really thins you out even more. Because you're trying to eliminate one inning of trying to get people out. Mm-hmm. I think this is a better team than that. And I don't see it happening and being as successful as some people think. I think it's cute, it's fashionable, but I think at the end of the day, boy, you know what? It can really put your pen in trouble down the road.
It has to work, but the part of the idea behind it is teams stack their best hitters at the top of the order, and you don't want to face an order a third time through. So, especially with some starters. So what you do with that is, if the starter, first batter he faces in a game is the 7-hitter or the 8-hitter, they essentially can get 3 times through the order while only facing the top of the order twice. That's part of the idea behind it. But again, there's a lot of moving parts there, and everything has to work. And if it doesn't work, you can be really in a bind.
This could end up being, Cardinals right now are 5 games out of the lead in the division. Don't know how things are going to go here, but it's a very difficult month for them in terms of play, in terms of not having off days, and there are a lot of good teams that they are going to be facing. If it turns out that they fall a little further behind here in the division, maybe it does go back to that thing that we were talking about at the beginning of the year, where it's just nothing but let's find out what we have with some of these younger players. And that could turn into pitching. It could be, let's find out what some of these pitchers are and evaluate them so we can make decisions for next year, which would not be the worst thing in the world either, if the season gets away from them.
Well, yeah, I think they've kind of been that way most of the year. I'm sure that some thought this is going to be one of these years where we're going to struggle. We're going to be maybe on the losing end. They've turned that around, and granted, it's just they're over 500, but there's going to come a point where you have to say, okay, who do we need to take a longer look at? And I think because of the way the season is gone, the one person who we haven't seen enough of would be a Nolan Gorman. I think everyone else that you thought you wanted to take a look at, you're getting a look at, whether it's Liberatore as a starter, whether it's Graceffo coming out of the bullpen. And you're going to see some other players along the way. But I look at Gorman being the one guy who probably hasn't had as long of a look as you would like to have. But the issue there is, I don't know if you can move Nolan Arenado where Gorman can have a job.
Yeah, that could be.
We saw how that worked
right.
in the offseason. It didn't work.
Mike Claiborne, Matt Pauley, Chris Ranji with you on the Gashouse Gang. Let us know what you think. 314-436-7900. And if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, you can leave a comment there for the Gashouse Gang on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Named one of Newsweek's world's best hospitals for 2025, Anderson Hospital is your hospital for life, delivering exceptional, compassionate care to families across the Metro East. From emergency services to specialized treatments, our dedicated team supports your health at every stage. Experience world-class care close to home. Discover the difference at andersonhospital.org.
Connected TV is one of the most effective channels for driving measurable advertising results. That's because when your customer's not scrolling, they're streaming. Let Viant put your ads right where they are, on the best content across the most premium platforms in the world. We're talking real consumers, big screens, big outcomes. With Viant, you get people-based targeting, AI-powered performance, and full access to inventory built to seize eyeballs, not clickbait. Viant, where premium streaming meets performance. Visit Viant.ai to unlock real results today.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Helping your inner circle prepare for emergencies can start in many ways. Put together an emergency kit with Wipeool. Create a family communication plan with your tita. Remind Bai to keep a backup battery charged. It all starts with a simple step, telling those you care about to be ready for the worst. So start a conversation and plan for emergencies together. Get more tips at ready.gov/start. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right, nice, soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before. We now have more offices, more staff, and more lawyers than any other injury firm in the world, protecting America, fighting for you.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Don't let mosquitoes ruin your time outdoors. At Rottler Pest Solutions, our mosquito control services are designed to dramatically reduce mosquito activity so you can enjoy your yard in peace. Take back your yard. Visit Rottler.com today to learn more and schedule your free inspection.
I'm Tom Ackerman with this month's Siteman Cancer Center Spotlight. This is National Cancer Survivor Awareness Month, and we are joined by Dr. Lindsay Peterson.
Their emotional needs, they are financial needs, they are physical needs, spiritual needs. So really, we have to look to address all of these different areas because they can be quite impactful for patients throughout their journey.
Thanks to Siteman Cancer Center, national leaders in cancer. For more information, go to siteman.wustl.edu.
104.1 FM KMOX, the voice of St. Louis. Stronger than ever.
A swing, and there's a drive. That's it deep. Left center field. It's a gunner. It's a gunner for Herrera. And the Cardinals lead 4-3 in the 8th.
Cardinals tonight. Dodgers are in town. 6:20 pregame show with Matt Pauley, who's with us now. Mike Claiborne will be on that as well on the broadcast tonight. 7:15 first pitch from Busch Stadium. We're going to talk to John Rooney after 12:30, and friends of Claibs. We've got Joe West, former umpire, will be on the show at 12:45. So, fellas, we have some questions from the listeners at 314-436-7900. Text messages. If you want to leave us a message on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, you can do that. And Bill Downton wants to know, he's watching on YouTube, who they would remove off the 40-man roster, I guess, if they were to make some sort of deal. That's difficult to know right now. You'd have to know what the deal is first.
No, you would have to know who the deal is. If you're going to make a deal, or you using somebody on the 40-man, so there would be an even flip. Does somebody have an injury where they would be moved to the 60-day injured list? I mean, there's a lot of different paperwork items that you would have to address before you could tell anybody who would be coming off the 40-man.
And if Liberatore, this question is from Keegan, if he does end up on the injured list, what would it just be? McGreevy? He slides right in there, and that's his spot until further notice.
I would defer that to Ali. That's something I'm sure they're talking about, but for me to tell you what that roster is going to look like, I'm gonna hold off on that.
I do think what's interesting, if it was, I think McGreevy's coming up no matter what, just based off some of the things that Ali has said here recently. So they really want to go to a 6-man rotation in the month of June. They've done a good job of keeping guys healthy. That's why this is a really bad time for this. If anything's lingering with Liberatore, and again, no reason for us to think there is going to be. Well, as Clabe said earlier, we'll learn more today and probably over the next few days. But if that's where the question would come in. Not so much is it just McGreevy, but do they still try to find a way to preserve the 6-man in the month? Does that mean you take Matz out of the bullpen? Do you really push Quinn Matthews early just to give a chance to see what he looks like in the big leagues? I mean, I don't think that's the answer, but I don't know what the answer is.
Also, Steve is watching on YouTube and says if it does go south before the deadline, he could see them trading for a starter, but somebody who would be around for years of control after, and believes they need 2 starters next year. Does that sound about right to you guys?
So let's think about who his starters would be for next year. From the current roster as we sit, Sonny Gray's coming back. He's under contract. You would expect Matthew Liberatore to come back. He's one of the guys that shows promise. Andre Palante's coming back. So that's 3 guys right there. You expect McGreevy to be part of this rotation next year. So that's 4. So who would be the 5th starter, Matt? I know I'm missing somebody.
Quinn Matthews.
Quinn Matthews? Okay, so there you have it. There are your 5. That's a young 5, but that's who your 5 are on paper as we speak today. A lot of things can change between now and opening day of next season, even now in the opening day of spring training. But if you look at it right now, those would be the logical choices within your organization.
I have 2 issues with the question. First off, I don't think things are going south. They lost a series to the Royals. They're fine. They're going to be in contention in this thing. I'm not really worried about that. But the more important thing here is decisions for next year need to be made by Chaim Bloom. And John Mozeliak mentioned this on Gashouse Gang the other day, that at some point organically this season, Chaim's going to start making some more decisions that impact the roster for next year. But John Mozeliak's not making a decision. What's the date? June 6th. It's my daughter's birthday. I should know that. John Mozeliak's not making decisions on June 6th about the 2026 roster. That he's going to wait to make those moves with Chaim Bloom being very much involved, if not solely making that. I think that was part of why the Donovan thing didn't happen in the offseason in terms of long-term contract. They are clearing the deck, and they're going to have this roster as lean as possible for Chaim Bloom to do as much as he wants to do with it.
Matt Pauley, We will be listening in to the pregame show at 6:20 tonight. Cardinals and Dodgers. First pitch, 7:15. We appreciate it, and we'll be listening in later.
All right, sounds great.
Mike Claiborne's still going to be sticking around with us. John Rooney joins the show in a moment. Claibs, real quick, you've got Live at Lowe's tonight, right?
Live at Lowe's, Lieutenant Mitch Harris, formerly of the United States Navy and also with the Cardinals. He's written a book, so we'll have him on this evening after the game.
Great story. He was on Gashouse a couple of days ago. Really, really good stuff. So he'll be at Live at Lowe's at the Bullock, across the street from the ballpark. After tonight's game, John Rooney is next on the Gashouse Gang, 104.1 FM KMOX.
Cash for Clunkers is back. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is paying cash for your clunkers now. They'll haul away your old garage door and give you instant credit towards a new insulated door. $200 for the first garage door and $100 for each additional door. Cash in your old entry door, too. It's Cash for Clunkers now at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Convenient, free, in-home estimates. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200.
Hey, it's Jeff at Sachs Financial. Over the last 15 years, we've been able to help our clients focus on the fundamentals and tune out the daily grind by putting a great retirement plan in place. If you don't have one, find out how to get started at retiresafestl.com.
It is 71 degrees, little bit of light rain in the area right now. The high today will be 72. The weather brought to you by Terrace Senior Living of Eureka.
Check out the Terrace in Eureka for affordable senior living with 24-hour nursing supervision, delicious meals, medication management, and activities. The Terrace is affordable and will work with your Medicaid plan. Go to rspseniorliving.com and look for the Terrace Private Assisted Living.
At University of Maryland Global Campus, we give our students credit where credit is due. Credit for deciding in the middle of rush hour traffic to go back and get their bachelor's and a promotion. Credit for managing 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a full-time job to pursue an MBA. And credit for serving in the military by day so they can study cybersecurity at night. For over 75 years, we've been helping students receive the credit they deserve. With more than 135 degrees and certificates, students at UMGC can use prior learning or relevant experience to earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's, and graduate students can transfer up to 12 credits toward their master's. At UMGC, you'll find everything from online to hybrid courses and lifetime career services to scholarship opportunities, making your education journey flexible, fast, and affordable. Classes start June 11th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Spring into a new home with amazing savings at TR Hughes. Hi, I'm Jason Hughes with TR Hughes Homes, and we are currently offering half off up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs on brand new to-be-built homes at select TR Hughes communities. That's right, half up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs. Visit trhughes.com for details.
The choice of a home builder is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
However, you really should visit trhughes.com.
Bernie Miklas here for Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin comfort dealer. The Saliga family's been taking great care of St. Louis since 1927 and still have the best and most trustworthy customer service in town. Saliga can handle all of your heating and air conditioning needs for home or business. They offer free estimates and financing options, and they won't leave you hanging if there's an emergency. The Miklas family's been calling on Saliga for more than 15 years, and we fully appreciate their knowledge, their class, and their integrity. Saliga's never tried to pressure us. They always take the time to discuss all the available options, including low-cost solutions. Saliga has saved us good money with their Priority Club Maintenance Program, which extends the life of our equipment. Members receive priority service and the peace of mind in knowing their home will be safe and comfortable during all 4 seasons. The Miklas family truly values Saliga Heating and Cooling, and you will too. For more information, call Saliga at 314-481-7333 or visit SaligaHeatingandCooling.com.
Tonight, the Cards, the Dodgers. Ameren Total Access 620. Cardinals Radio, 104.1 FM KMOX.
Now, the John Rooney Conversation on KMOX, sponsored by Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance. We are Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance, and if you're a Missourian, we're for you.
Contreras lines it into left, a base hit. Here's Nootbaar coming around third. The throw comes in, and it's cut off. 2-1 Kansas City. The walk has turned into a run, and Contreras has driven in runs in both games. He has 34 RBIs now.
Gashouse Gang brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. It is Mike Claiborne and Chris Ranji. Today we will have Joe West, former umpire, is going to join us at the end of the show. But right now we bring in a part of the broadcast team, one of the voices of the Cardinals, John Rooney. You just heard him there a second ago, and John is with us now. How's it going, Mr. Rooney?
Well, it's going nice and rainy out today, but what's new?
There's been a lot of rain this month, hasn't there?
Well, I'm a little tired of the doubleheaders. I'm sure the players are too.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. They have played a lot of doubleheaders in the early part of the season. I mean, you get days off, but then that means you have to play two in one game, it can be exhausting. So, like what is the effect of having to play this many doubleheaders this early in the season?
I really don't think they think about it. I think they just go do it, and they don't have any choice. And I think they perform very well, all things considered. But they seem to just run out of gas and ran up against two really hot relief pitchers in the second game yesterday after Matthew Liberatore had another rough start. And Liberatore left the game. He had some fatigue issues, and we hope that's nothing serious, because up until the last couple of starts, Liberatore has pitched very, very well.
So,
hey, John, let's turn the page from Kansas City. The Los Angeles Dodgers roll into town, and I'm looking forward to this series because the Cardinals have played well against some of the higher-rated teams in baseball. They have some problems with their pitching, though, as well. So this should be a fun matchup.
I think it will be. I really do. And I thought the Cardinals played the Dodgers well last year. They managed only one win out in Los Angeles to open the season, but I thought they could have won a couple more games in that series. They just got away. The starting pitching, though, you're only as good as that night's starter. And with Andre Palante giving up 7 his start, Matthew Liberatore giving up 7 in his start last night, that doesn't bode well. It's going to take some wear and tear on the bullpen. But the bullpen looked pretty good in the Kansas City series after bending some and letting the game get away on Sunday down in Texas. By and large, the bullpen has been pretty good. And Riley O'Brien was able to add to that as the 27th man yesterday. He was called up for the doubleheader, and that's the best we've seen him probably since spring training a year ago. But the Dodgers series is going to be interesting because they bring in all that star power. They're the world champs, the defending champions, and Shohei Ohtani gets so much of the attention. But don't let your guard down, because somebody like Muncy or somebody like Will Smith, or you have Freddie Freeman, they can turn a game around in a hurry, as can Tommy Edman.
Of course, we want the Cardinals to win in this series. Is there a bit of enjoyment that you get, a little added enjoyment, John, from watching a team like that, knowing that they are just loaded up and down the order and loaded in the rotation and everywhere else? When a team like that comes into town, or you get to call a game against a team like that, does that do anything more for you as a broadcaster?
It's the next team up for me. I'm interested to watch them, yes, but it's a team that the Cardinals have to beat. And they have to go about beating the Chicago Cubs, the Milwaukee Brewers on the next trip. 4 games in Milwaukee. They're every bit as important as what happens over the weekend playing the Dodgers, because they're division games. Then you go play more interleague play against the Chicago White Sox, and don't let a series like that creep up on you. But does it add more to it? I think the crowds, when they get into it, that adds something more. But it's the next team on the schedule. They're very good, and I look forward to the challenge just like the Cardinal players do.
Hey, John, one of the guys that's starting to warm up a little bit is Wilson Contreras. He's very comfortable hitting behind Brendan Donovan and in front of Ivan Herrera, and we saw that against Kansas City. He might get on one of those hot streaks that can really carry this club for a week or so.
Well, I think that's a good point, Claves, because we saw that in spring training where they just couldn't get him out. Even his outs were line drives somewhere, or he was smoking ground balls to one of the infielders, but they didn't get him out all that often. And then he struggled to open up the season. He's looking more like the Wilson Contreras we saw in February into March than what we saw at the start of the season. And that's a good thing because he brings so much energy. And when things are going well, it just magnifies what he does in the clubhouse and on the field, I think.
He's been one of the most impressive players for the Cardinals over the last couple of years, I think. They have the moment where they take him away from the catcher position. Then he's now in the middle of an offseason. He's asked to move to a different position. He does that, and he's done it well. He slumps to start the year, but then he starts to rebound. I think that he has handled himself incredibly well over the last couple of years. What do you think?
Well, he loves to play the game. He hasn't changed his personality, what he is and who he is. And I thought he developed quite a bit and improved behind the plate. But this is even better where he can go to first base, where he has been better than outstanding. I'm so surprised at the way he has taken to the position. He works at it day in, day out. But I think it goes back to his love for the game and what he enjoys doing. And to him, he works hard, but it doesn't look like work. It looks like, hey, I can't wait to get out there because that is his life. And I think others feed off of that. But I think he's handled himself under adverse situations where it's not easy being with a team as long as he was with the Cubs to have to come in and then make so many changes.
And I also think that the fact of making a position change at this point in your career, people think, well, here's a first baseman, go out and play first base. It's not that easy. And I think the things he's done, the little things, his footwork around the bag and the way he can hold runners and the way he cuts off throws from the outfield, he really understands the game, and it really shows even more now than compared to when he was behind the plate.
And I really like the way he's in a competition with Alec Burleson, the way they work when they're in infield and they're taking ground balls and work around the first base bag. I think that is a friendly competition that has made both of them even better defensively. And I just love their work around first base, where we don't miss Paul Goldschmidt at first base the way I thought we would.
John Rooney, voice of the Cardinals, with us. Sonny Gray gets the start tonight. Before we let you go, John, what do you think of the way he has been throwing lately?
Wow, he was lights out against the Rangers. He had the breaking stuff working as well, if not better, than what we've seen in a long time. And that sweeper was producing strikeouts, double digits in strikeouts. I think that tells the story right there for Sonny Gray in his last outing. He was absolutely sensational, and bottle that, keep it going. And Sonny's off to a 6-1 start. He's had some help from the offense. He's had some help from the defense, but I thought he really helped himself the last time out against Texas, and that was simply vintage Sonny Gray.
John Rooney, voice of the Cardinals, tonight, pregame show 6:20, 7:15 first pitch. John will have that. We appreciate it, and we'll be listening in tonight, John.
All right, let's hope we can put the umbrellas away and get some baseball in with the Dodgers. Good crowds this weekend, and it should be electric at Busch Stadium, that's for sure.
I think it'd be a lot of people at the ballpark tonight. That is also for sure. John Rooney, the voice of the Cardinals, with Rick Horton, with Mike Claiborne. I got Claibs with me right now on the Gashouse Gang, and we have a pair of tickets to give away for tonight's game. Let's do it right now. 4-pack of tickets for the game. We need caller number 8 to the contest line at 314-955-1120. 314-955-1120. Caller 8 will go see the Cardinals and Dodgers tonight at Busch Stadium. It's the Gashouse Gang on KMOX.
We are Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance, and we're here for all of life's wins. Like when you get a new car, or new boat, or new driver, or when your son moves out, but your mom moves in, or you find out you're expecting again, or when one rental property turns into 2, then 20, or you realize they're all in Tornado Alley. Life is full of life events, so call your Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance agent or visit mofbinsurance.com to find an agent near you, and we'll make sure you have the right coverage for each of life's wins.
We are Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance, and we're for the people of Missouri, in good times and in bad. We're for Missouri families and Missouri communities. We're for giving back to those communities and lifting people up. And when Missouri weather rips through our state, we're for helping put back the pieces. We're for brighter days and new tomorrows. We are Missouri Farm Bureau Insurance. And if you live in Missouri, we're for you.
Hey, this is Charlie Brennan. Have you noticed loose bricks or missing mortar around your house, on the walls, the patios, the walkways, the porch, or the chimneys? If so, you need to call Morelli Tuck Pointing. 314-645-1387. You might need one of two things: solid tuck pointing, the removal of old mortar with the replacement of new mortar throughout an entire wall or chimney, or maybe just spot tuck pointing. Spot tuck pointing involves the tuck pointing of a particular wall, a chimney, or other masonry surface in an area where it's needed the most. One example might be settlement cracks, usually found above or below windows or doorways. 314-645-1387. Call the company that the Brennans have called when we've needed tuck pointing. Morelli Tuck Pointing, the masonry specialists. Winner of the Angie's List Super Service Award every year since 2005. 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
When we started Neovitin back in 2009, we wanted to create a multivitamin that we would take ourselves. That's why we use quality ingredients in our Neovitin Original Formula multivitamin. With over 20 vitamins and minerals, along with our physician-formulated proprietary blend, you can be sure you are getting the highest quality daily nutritional support. Give Neovitin Original Formula Multivitamin a try for yourself. Find it at your local Schnucks, Deerbergs, and online at neovitin.com.
Cardinal Cowboy here. After proving the doctors wrong following my accident, I got back to baseball, started kicking field goals, and finally got paid as a pro kicker and ultimately became a leader in the marketing world. That's why I trust Renner Garage Door, exceeding expectations for over 65 years. They service, sell, and install top brands like Delden, Amar, and LiftMaster. Get your free quote today. Check them out at RennerDoorSTL.com. Renner, forward and back. Giddy up!
RENNER, RENNER.
Named one of Newsweek's world's best hospitals for 2025, Anderson Hospital is your hospital for life, delivering exceptional, compassionate care to families across the Metro East. From emergency services to specialized treatments, our dedicated team supports your health at every stage. Experience world-class care close to home. Discover the difference at andersonhospital.org.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
A few years ago, CTV was a buzzword. Now it's your most important channel, while your current DSP is still playing catch-up. Viant's been leading CTV from the start, delivering real results across the world's most premium streaming content, viewed by real consumers, backed by real reporting. With AI-driven optimization, people-based targeting, and inventory from the biggest names in entertainment, Viant doesn't just reach audiences, it moves them. Viant, where premium streaming meets performance. Visit Viant.ai to unlock real results today.
11:20 a.m., 104.1 FM, and streaming on the Odyssey app. KMOX is with you, however you listen, wherever you listen.
You better be nice to Lana in Collinsville if you're a friend of hers, because she's going to take 3 of you to the ball game tonight. So congratulations to Lana. Won the 4-pack of tickets for Cardinals-Dodgers at Busch Stadium tonight. It is the Gashouse Gang, and it is sponsored by Saliga Heating and Cooling, SaligaHeatingandCooling.com. Time for our segment here on Friday called Friends of Claibs, and we welcome in one of Mike Claiborne's good friends. It is former umpire Joe West, who is on the show today. How's it going, Joe?
It's great. It's great. But you guys are going to have trouble getting this game in because it's raining.
Uh-oh.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
Uh-oh.
Than's a lot.
That's not good.
I want to ask you, you've umpired over 5,000 games, and rain is something you can't deal, you have to deal with it. It's something that's not forecasted as far as part of the job description. Walk me through the process of when the umpires get involved with rain delays.
Well, when I was working now, you got to realize I've been gone 3.5 years, so they may have changed something. But when I was working, we didn't have control of the game until they handed us the lineup cards. In fact, we were in Wrigley Field one day, and Herman Franks called John Kibler over in the umpire's locker room. He says, "Would you mind taking the lineup cards for me at home plate?" And John said, "Herman, it's raining." He says, "Yeah, but if I don't give you the lineup cards, we don't get the TV money." So we went out in a pouring rainstorm, took the lineup cards, and waved the game off.
That's right. Yeah.
You got to love that. You got to love that.
Yeah, but
how did you deal with double headers?
And well, when I started, we didn't have split double headers. It took the owners a while to figure out that if you have a split double header, you can get 2 gates out of it. But when I started, Philadelphia used to schedule double headers because that was their big way of making money because they weren't filling up the ballpark. And but after, I want to say, the middle 80s, if you had a rain out or something, you went back to replay it. They split the doubleheader so they could get 2 gates out of it, which is business,
Yeah.
And baseball is a business. You have to look at it as a business, and that made sense. And so as part of the union negotiations, when I was president, we made sure that when they had a split doubleheader, they would send us another umpire to let just the plate umpire work, and then he'd be off, and the guy that's going to work the plate the second game, he didn't work the first game, which eased the workload of the guys working. But yeah, it's been interesting, and it's been kind of an evolution. Now, the only place they couldn't do those split doubleheaders was Wrigley Field, because when I started, they didn't have lights.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I used to tell people that was my favorite ballpark because when it got dark, we could quit.
Just like Little League.
Yeah, that's right.
You get too dark and you go home. Joe West, former umpire, is with us on KMOX. Joe, I know you're paying attention to the game now. Does it seem like it's easier to umpire now, harder, or the same as when you were doing it? And it wasn't that long ago you were umpiring.
Well, they put a lot of pressure on the plate umpire and all this threatening of using the robotic system for this and the robotic challenges and stuff. And I don't think people understand that we, as a union, we battled that robotic system forever when they first put it in with Sandy Alderson. And we proved that it's not as accurate as everybody makes it out to be. And the little box you see on TV is linear. The strike zone's 3-dimensional. It's not linear. And so to judge it from that is tough to put a grade on it. But the point is, they grade every umpire today on every pitch that he has to call. They grade every umpire on every play that he has on the bases. And the development system of the umpiring is not as caught up with the rest of the system as the judging of the umpires when they get to this level. Now, and Mike will tell you this, you watch these young umpires come up, most of them are pretty good behind the plate. Most of them are very good.
We have some guys
now.
Yeah, there's some guys now that are lights out. I mean, we've had a couple of guys this year that missed one call, missed one pitch the whole game. I think we had one guy who had a perfect game. So, they're younger, they're more athletic, they have an understanding. But, Joe, you mentioned the box on TV. I'm amazed that we still show it, considering how inaccurate it is.
Yeah,
it really doesn't tell the
television.
The whole story.
They're trying to give the audiences home something to talk about or argue about. I talked to Jerry Reinsdorf about some of the changes and stuff. When I broke the record for the most games umpired, it was at White Sox Park up there, and Reinsdorf was very instrumental in helping me get 128 tickets. And certain things like this, we talked about. And I told him, I said, Jerry, the evolution of the game has been good because the baseball, it hasn't changed as much as all these other sports, and in certain aspects, I said the only thing I really disagree with what the owners have done is the designated hitter. I thought that was a bad rule when they put it in before I got to the big leagues, and I know it's a bad rule now that I've seen it over the course of all these years. But talking about the strike zone, these young kids grow up working with that machine or working with what's grading them. So they're going to be more proficient with that than the older umpire who didn't have it until he got here. And you're lucky that most of the older guys are gone, because now the strike zone is pretty close to being everybody's strike zone. I mean, I can remember when I came up, Lee Wire had a big strike zone. Dutch Rennert had a small strike zone. Paul Ruggie had a big strike zone. Bruce Fleming had a small strike zone. And that's not fair to the players, because it takes them 2-3 innings to adjust to what the umpires are calling. So I think the evolution of these kids coming up and working with this system helps them be as consistent as they are. And I think that's a good thing. I also think that's trying to speed up the game for the purpose of getting guys in the batter's box and making the pitcher pitch within a reasonable length of time. I think that's been good for the game. But then again, you have to look at it this way. Most people go to a baseball game, don't really care how long it is. You and I care because, we'd like to get our job done and go home. But the average baseball fan doesn't mind that the game's 3 hours and a half, where we look at it and say, well, what a waste of time this is. And the Yankees and the Red Sox used to be the very worst at trying to speed up the game. They were horrible games to work because they were 4 hours long. But I think what the commissioner's office has done is trying to make it where it's convenient. You can judge when the game is going to start, when it's going to end. And the good thing about baseball used to be there was no clock on it. Well, now they have a clock on every pitch. So that's changed dramatically. And I think for the better of the game. I don't think it's hurt the game at all. I think there's a couple of things that I really don't like putting a runner on second base in extra innings. And I just saw Harvey Haddocks over at Bill Mazeroski's golf tournament. What do you think he'd have thought when they put a runner on second base and he had a perfect game going into 12 innings? So that rule I don't like. I don't like the designated hitter rule because that was before we really started in the game and really saw what it can do. But if you'll remember when the National League didn't have the DH, their game was 15 minutes faster than the American League game because the ninth hitter was the pitcher. And guys like Tom Seaver and Steve Carlton, if they threw more than 9 pitches to the 7th, 8th, and 9th hitter, one of them fouled off a pitch. And you have to realize the game moves when pitchers throw strikes. When pitchers are throwing strikes, the game will move. I remember a pitcher named Randy Jones. He couldn't break a window pane, but he'd throw 90 pitches and the game would be over.
Yep.
Because he made him hit the ball.
It's like Mark Burley. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
And those. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, we're just I'm just gonna say we're running out of time. Wish we had more time to talk with you, but we have another show that's coming in trying to kick us out of the studio. So they're literally standing at the door. But Joe,
are you telling me I'm being kicked out of the game?
You're being ejected. How's that feel? How's that feel? This time you're out.
Yeah, and I've enjoyed this conversation, and we'll carry it on again.
Thanks again, Joe. Appreciate you, sir.
Joe West.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome to talk to Cowboy Joe. Joe West. Mike Claiborne, appreciate it as always. We'll talk again Friday. Live at Lowe's tonight at the Bullock. Across the street from the ballpark, Mitch Harris is going to join you post-game after the Cardinals beat the Dodgers. You'll be there. We'll be there.
I'll be there.
Thanks,
Looking
Claibs.
forward to it. All right, take care. That
is Mike Claiborne. And anything you missed on the Gashouse Gang, go find it on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Odyssey app. Coming up next, Dave Glover Show on 104.1 FM KMOX.
Many Americans take a fish oil supplement, often with the goal in mind of heart health, blood pressure, cholesterol, joint comfort. If that's you, you need to hear what the Cleveland Clinic concluded. At best, fish